so they've asked a lot of questions, so we won't hit you with all. But I think that was one of the ones that a lot of them were really interested in. Is like, how do you look for the right agent? How do you find the right agent?
It depends where you're located. In Los Angeles, there are GTA, MSA, Block, and MTA, I would say, are the most reputable ones, the ones that we work with most frequently. I can't really say that there's any others that we work with on a regular basis or at all. And they're all, when it comes to what agent is right for you, it really is just about, they all do the same thing. Some of them are better on different types of contracts than others. However, it's really more so about your relationship with them. If you go and take a meeting and you like them as people, that relationship is what's going to help build your work or your child's work. So it's really just relationships.
What was another hot question? I'm trying to think.
Hot
Now you have one that knows it all.
The transition from dancing to coming to LA. So it's easy for me because I've got the tall son.
You got the what?
The tall son.
Oh,
I'm a tall boy.
nice. Yes.
So he's done maybe hip hop. He's just started ballet and jazz back in November because we found out, because the previous school was always like, no, just do this and wouldn't let us try anything new. So we found out from another dance mom at a different school, he really needs to have some foundations. So he's just starting that. What do I do to help him? What advice can I give him to prepare him? Because he's ready to, he dances right now about 40 hours a week. He's ready to move into that next step. What advice do I give him? Other than conventions, what else do I need to do to prepare him for success?
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, I think convention is a great way because you're getting a lot of different influences. And I don't know who gave the advice to take one specific thing, but that is absolutely not the way. That's amazing. I'm happy you made that choice. Because really exposure to as many different styles as possible. Working on your fundamentals are huge. Refinement of movement, because then you're going to have to assimilate to whatever choreographer is giving, what movement they're giving you. And it all comes from having that root of fundamental refinement, so then you can work to look like their style, because you have to master every choreographer's style when they come in and give an audition in a matter of 15 minutes, you know? And that comes from having a really strong base. As far as, of course, when it comes to dance, it's pretty tangible. It's just taking as many classes as you can from it, as many people as you can, asking as many questions as you can, just being a squeaky wheel, really. But then when the other side of it, which actually on the convention that I'm on, I do a speaking series on as well, called Human Movement, and it's really based upon the mental toughness and emotional intelligence that's necessary, that I didn't necessarily have when I went into the industry, because I went from my high school, I did college online, I moved here to LA, I did scholarship at Tremaine Studio, and I worked a desk job, did everything I could because we didn't have the means financially, and I wanted to continue my schooling and all of those things. And I came out here to a really big world at 17 years old that I don't think I was really emotionally or mentally prepared for. And unfortunately, it led me down routes of eating disorders and things like that that I probably could have stayed away from if I would have been a little more prepared about what am I thinking about, what should I be thinking about, what type of mold do I think I need to be fitting into, who am I, because you're selling yourself as a product. That's the really hard thing about this business that I find. You're the product, so separating your self-worth from that is hard. So if you can start to instill those tools in your kids early on, that's why with Human it's broken down by each letter. H is for honoring your community, because we as a community are responsible for what we're known for, and sometimes dancers can be known as being entitled and disrespectful and very tunnel vision, and so we're responsible for how that looks, and we need to look at that for ourselves. And you as understanding your instrument, and as making your own mold, which is probably the biggest one. Like for me, I wanted to be this ensemble dancer, but I'm 6 feet tall. Moved to Los Angeles at the time of pop stardom and Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears. I was not going to dance behind them regardless of how hard I tried. And I tried to fit into this mold, and thankfully I worked super hard, so I made it happen, but I wasn't super happy because I was trying to be something I wasn't the whole time. And I was beating my head against the wall until one moment I was like, you know what, I'm 6 feet tall, I can't change that. I'm gonna maximize that and use that as my strength instead of my limitation, and it opened up feature goals for me, which, you know, I thought I wanted this, but there was something so much better if I just really looked at what I considered my limitation as something that made me unique. So that's a big thing. And then acting with integrity is A, which is just general. We need to learn to do that as people, as humans. And then never not a student, never not a teacher. It's spelled two N's because we need to know we can always make mistakes and should. And then double negatives because I'm grammar police. And never not a student, never not a teacher. We're always learning from each other. We're always teaching people how to treat us. It's just life lessons that we get so focused on our physical bodies as dancers, but there's so much more to it. It's the people that have that mental toughness that can really get through, because it's tough. It's tough out there, and you just have to be prepared. So that's what I would say. That's a long answer. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
It's a great answer. It's a great answer.
Yeah.
If you ever, I mean, when your kids got to take class today, but if they ever get to take her what do you call it?
Human movement.
Human movement. Make sure I tell them I have to go over everything because I mix words up. And it will be good. It's really great, and they would learn a lot from it. I think that Katy just simplifies what as a dancer you can achieve, because I mean she's doing so many things right now. I see her. You're all over the place. She's in New York. She's in J-Lo.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
It's a little crazy, but congratulations, because it's really
Thank you. I think too, letting them know that it's not just, of course you want to have your dance career, which I had that, but I loved all the facets of it, and I moved into doing creative direction and working on the other side of it after 30 years. I got out of performing at 30, and there's so much more to this world than sometimes what we're solely focused on. In lighting design and video content and pyro and just all these other elements that I think we need to start to teach the kids about sooner, solely so they have a respect of it, because I know that I want to work with dancers that come in and respect everybody's job in the space, because they're only on the floor because all those people exist. And that starts at their studio. Because I ask them in human, I say, okay, who makes up your community? And usually they say, my peers, my parents, my dance teachers. I'm like, well, who else? And they struggle with that. And like, the people that clean your dance studio, the people that come in and do audio fixes, technicians, the people that come in and do maintenance, like every single person that steps into that space is making your reality possible. So the dancers that come in, like on Jennifer, we have a great group right now. And all of them are so seasoned and have been around long enough to see how imperative everybody's job is, and they really respect it, and that makes it so much easier to work because everybody's there to make the full picture happen, not just their picture. We're here for the whole picture. So, yeah, it's good. I just worked with that guy too.
I know. We don't want to keep you too long. We appreciate the fact that you came up and gave us some of your knowledge. She really has a lot of knowledge in this business.
Yeah, any questions, I'm always open. So, yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? They did great. They did great. I mean, this is certainly a challenge, and I told them, I'm like, I'm going to give you something that I feel is going to be a challenge, but what I told them I was most proud of them about was, in the beginning, I saw the deer in headlights moment. The apprehension, and then by the end of it, because I'm very much about when you take a class, dance is language, and it doesn't have to be right. It shouldn't be what we consider right, because we're so focused on that. So it sucks. But we're conditioned as dancers to continually progress and improve, and what we get as constructive criticism becomes really negative criticism in our mind. So learning how to let go of that and what we think it should be, and just discovering yourself and pushing past those limits, as we hear that often, but just letting them discover their own language. I'm not a details person in class, because you go do a job and yes, you have to look like everybody else. But in class, I think it's about discovering your uniqueness. How am I gonna say this? How am I gonna interpret this? And what can we all discover from each other in this moment? And how they took it from the beginning to where they finished was so great. That's really, the arc is what it's about. How are you gonna grow throughout this class? And they really did that. So, you should be very proud. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Well,
thank you
let's
guys
go.
so
Thank you,
much.
guys.